We would not have streaming platforms. We would not have TikTok. We would not have MySpace, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter. None of these companies can exist without DMCA. And this is the weird symbiotic relationship between the Digital Millennium Copyright Act and our current existence in social media. Let's start with a very basic and important thing is, who the f am I? My name is Lorax. This is my channel that I run with my partner Joe, who is sleeping on the couch with the dog. We are Lighthearted Horror, but personally, my credentials are: I have a bachelor's in environmental science, I have a JD, which I got on an accelerated program, and I have an LLM in law, which is a doctorate level degree. So I am pretty well versed in law. My specialty is real estate, but I'm very researched on copyright because entertainment law interests me a lot. So that's who I am. I just want to show you how scared the internet is of DCMA. Twitch warns future DCMA takedowns, changes, avoid DCMA, like the Twitch DCMA apocalypse. The apocalypse. That's how people describe what is known as DMCA. I'll sometimes call it DCMA because I think it's a better acronym. What is DMCA, or the Digital Millennium Copyright Act? First of all, just so you guys know, it was signed into law by Billy Clinton. He signed it in response to a little app known as Napster. Napster, which none of you know, but you might. Napster was the original music sharing program. It was a program people uploaded their CDs, because back in the day everyone had to do CDs. You upload them to this website, which you could then download the MP3s and burn them onto your own CDs, so you could take them around your car and you didn't have to pay for it. I think Napster eventually had like a pay service. I don't know if Napster is actually still in existence, but Napster was essentially the original file share. You upload your music and you could share it with everyone, and the music industry lost their no one bought CDs. It was much rarer to buy a CD, because why would you? You could get it for free. Getting stuff for free is the best. So what does this do, this whole digital copyright scary boy? Now here's what it does. It protects copyrighted material that's not inline, online. Joe makes a point. If you want to blame anyone for DMCA, blame Metallica, because they're the ones who sued. That's one of the two things that the DMCA is designed. It's designed to protect copyright material. It also is designed to stop the infringement of we'll say the copyrighted works, CRWs, copyrighted works. So, and if you might notice that the style, this is very similar to Devin Nash. I actually really enjoy Devin Nash, and his style with the notepad. It's very basic, but I think it gets to the point. So these are the important things. This is what DMCA is designed to do. It's designed to protect the material that's already out there and stop the infringement on it. Now, this also applies to stuff you do. So if you have, let's say, a YouTube video out there that you create your own music and you did your own art, you don't want someone else to monetize your work. That really is what DMCA is about. It's about someone else getting paid for something you did without your permission. And just so we can further define copyright material, that's anything, that's any content, and this is important, any content where the creator has an exclusive legal right to the use of said content. So when you create something, you have automatically, by the law, the exclusive legal right to use the content. It is yours. No one else can take it. No one else can steal it. It is your content. You automatically get the right. You don't have to go down to a patent office. You don't have to go down to a trademark office. It's yours, as long as you can prove it's yours. That's what they don't say here, but that's the important part. You have to prove this is yours. But we're gonna forego that. Let's say that in the perfect world, it's always yours. Everyone knows it's yours. What does copyright attach to? So CRWs, they attach to anything that has been reduced to a tangible medium. In the sense of streams, you create your own music. Your music has become a tangible medium. You have put your music out there. That is yours automatically, is your copyright. You created it. There's a date where it's been created and it's tangible. You can see it, hear it, touch it. Technically, I mean, you're touching the mouse, but whatever. And so that comes down to like examples of movies. Movies are tangible mediums. Same with TV shows. These are both examples of tangible mediums or anything. And this one I see, it's professionally produced songs are copyrighted. And I have an issue, of course, with this term professionally. And this is in here to, again, appease Metallica, who was like, oh, you gave away our songs. We spent money producing it. It doesn't matter how much you spend. If you spend a penny making your song, it's a professionally produced song to me. Now, how that's defined in court is different. We're not talking about court. That's a whole different issue. And it would end up being a jury question because it's a question of fact. Is a song that you spent a penny on considered a professionally produced song? Your professionally produced songs, and this includes different types of music. Let's go one deeper here. This includes music that is part of a video game or licensed for a video game. This is the one that I think is important for us streamers, and why, like, I've heard of people who are like, let's look at Cyberpunk, or better, Grand Theft Auto. Grand Theft Auto has a ton of music on their radio. They have gotten licenses for every single song in the game. That is part of the game. It has been licensed for, and it is their copyright material that they have a license for. And a license is basically permission to use someone else's copyright material. We'll get into licenses a little later. It's important. This also surprisingly applies to music on the radio, which also requires a license. And it also applies to the background scores of trailers. And this one needed a specific cutout when it came to DCMA or DMCA, because trailers are not movies. Technically, they're advertisements. And the background scores of trailers had to be cut out specifically because people would say, well, I can use it. It was in the trailer, not in the movie. DMCA doesn't apply. It's not your copyright work. It doesn't fall. So they added that in later. Let's look at Twitch for a second, because I think this is where DMCA is really been hitting the hardest. And Twitch is like, oh, well, there's takedowns coming. There's a reason for that. Because if DMCA acted as intended, we would not have social media. We would not have streaming platforms. We would not have TikTok. We would not have MySpace, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter. None of these companies can exist without DMCA. And this is the weird symbiotic relationship between the Digital Millennium Copyright Act and our current existence in social media. And I truly do mean existence. If DMCA existed as it is now without this certain provision that was included later on, we can't have social media, because everything we put, anything you reshare, how many of you posted a TikTok, a GIF, a Vine compilation, a YouTube video to Facebook? Every single one of those instances is a violation of DMCA. You are reposting copyrighted work. It would make it impossible to share anything. I mean, our entire life would be just dealing with DMCA takedowns, which is why DMCA provided something called safe harbor. The safe harbor is this idea that online service providers, and these are not us, like streamers are not online service providers. These are your platforms. This is Twitch. This is YouTube. This is Instagram, etc. These are your online service providers. These are the guys who have created a website and given you a platform to put your content on. Now, the reason you don't get sued every single second of every single day on these platforms is because DMCA's offered these guys something called safe harbor. So safe harbor allows the hosting of infringed materials so long as you meet certain conditions. YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, all of these guys, what they do is that they protect the people who post in it, and they pay for it. So they pay a certain amount of money to allow themselves to be able to exist in safe harbor. Now, I don't want to get too deep into safe harbor. Safe harbor is a really legal, super legal concept that isn't really super necessary for streamers, because it just isn't. Safe harbor is a total legal mechanism, but you may have heard the term come up on the first DCMA takedown of Twitch, and that's why I bring it up. So during the first DCMA takedown of Twitch, the reason that they just started deleting people's content, I mean aggressively deleting content, removing stuff, and tossing out strikes like candy, was because if they didn't, they would lose the safe harbor provision. They would lose the protection under the US law, DMCA, that allows them to operate with infringed material. And then what then? Then you're screwed. Your whole platform collapses. Now, you don't want that. I don't want that, because if they take down Twitch, they're probably going to come after YouTube, Facebook, and Trovo, which are the platforms I'm on. Online platforms depend. They need these safe harbor provisions to protect themselves from lawsuits. DCMA is 5 parts. And people don't realize this. It's got 5 different sections. The WIPO treaties. You might be like, what the WIPO? WIPO is the World Intellectual Property Organization. But we're not going to talk about WIPO, because WIPO is dumb. The second thing you have is, and this is a fun one, it's OSILA. OSILA is the online, which you can already tell this applies to us, copyright infringement, liability, which is a terrible word to hear, limitation, which is a better word to hear, act. This is the main part of DMCA that we will deal with. OSILA is what streamers deal with. This is what we deal with. This is all the online copyright infringement, liability, but it's got the caveat of limitation, act. And then we'll talk about the other quick parts, the other dumb parts, which is the CMCAA. I don't know how to say this. Whatever it is. CMCAA is the Computer Maintenance Competition Assurance Act. This is basically saying, don't steal other people's computer ideas. In super short, that's what CMCAA is. 4. Literally, that's not an acronym. It just means miscellaneous, because that's what it's for. But the miscellaneous provisions provide exceptions to the Copyright Act, mostly for libraries, for webcasting, because remember, this was 1998. Webcasting. Ooh. Sound recording on the internet, the ability to apply collective bargaining for movies, and the transfer of those rights as well. Again, we're not going to deal with this because it's dumb. And then finally, this is the stupidest thing I think I've ever seen in something about digital copyright. I'd like you to meet the 5th and most unnecessary section ever of DMCA, which is the Vessel Hull Design Protection Act, which is literally about what the you paint on the outside of vehicles and like that, so that you cannot put Bodie McBoatface on any other ship other than the research vessel that actually has that name. So when we're talking about DMCA in regards of streaming and social media content, we're talking about Oscilla. Your one and honestly only weapon against copyright. And what a limited weapon it is, because of course it is. So fair use. It's this idea that, and I like to think of it as, there are no more original ideas. I mean, for God's sake, we're using the style of Devin Nash, who is, like I said, a streamer I like very much. So fair use is a test. That's the best way to look at it. It's a test. It's something that you have to apply case by case. You cannot apply fair use broad. It is a case by case test, which is why you'll have some videos that get copyrighted and some that don't, because there is a case by case test for everything in regards to fair use and using it as a defense. So we're going to start with an acronym, and the acronym I aptly kind of chose is PAIN, because this pain in my ass. So PAIN is the test for fair use. That is purpose, that is amount, that is nature, and that is effect. Purpose, amount, nature, and effect. PAIN. This is the, we'll call it some people call it a checklist, some people call it the list. To me, it is the test. This test is, can you use that copyrighted work without infringing on the copyright, or do you have the right to do it? When reviewing fair use, you go down this list. So let's start with purpose. And this list is split into good and bad. So purpose. What is a good purpose? Education. I would say educational. So if your purpose is for teaching, for research, for scholarships, for criticism, or for comment, DCMA looks favorable upon you. You don't have to meet one of these. You have to meet a collection of these, and that's what's important, and I'll get to that. These are not like, oh, good, I'm teaching, I can steal Kanye West's music. No, that's not how this works. It's not how this works at all. What counts as comment? Comment, to me, I think comments are like review videos. So I would also count unboxing videos as a comment. I'll add this word in here. This is a balancing test. Not physical balance, but balanced like a scale. And that determines where you have a favorable, and this is what it is, a favorable fair use claim versus a disfavorable claim. So other than education, you also have transformative. If this piece of content has been significantly transformed from its original existence. So, and I don't like this word. It's significantly transformed from its original form. Now, I don't like the word significant because the word significant is a question of fact, which means if you were ever sued, this would have to go to trial because a jury would have to determine a question of fact. And then finally, non-profit. If your claim is for a non-profit reason, you're not making money on it, most of the time you can have fair use because there's no money involved. Well, it's like, all right, but if someone's like a non-profit, just hosting a fundraiser, they shouldn't have to go get a collective licensing for Metallica. I don't know what fundraisers play Metallica. So those are the good things in purpose, but what's the bad things? What should you just not do? Commercial, entertainment, or anything that's not in the good category. Like streamers. So you guys, most of you, stream video games. I'm going to put this out here right now, and as someone who also streams video games, you have no right to stream these games. At any point, a game company like Epic or Capcom or EA or 2K can turn around and say no more. This can be dangerous. It's dangerous for the streaming community. Because here's one of two things I can see happening in the future. Because I feel like what we do now, video game companies are going to start requiring a license to stream video games. Or, and this one scares me, they just won't allow streaming of video games at all. They'll just be like, nope, it's for playing, it's not for viewing, because they don't make any money when you stream games. So most of us have a consumer license. It's not a license to be used to make money off of. It's a license to consume as a user, not to use as a business tool. We create entertainment, and some of us will probably claim that we have significantly transformed the content of video games using our commentary, so we're educational too. Transformative, yeah, you might touch on those, but I don't think they're significant. But it's a balancing test, so even a touch can push you over the scale in the right way. So the other ones are non-transformative, and this is important, especially for YouTube, or exactly the same. This is an argument I see with streamers. Non-transformative content, which means no commentary let's plays, are in massive violation and disfavored by fair use. And I subscribe to a couple no commentary ones like Survival Horror Network, who literally just plays horror games with no comments, just a run through. Those streams are the most at risk for copyright takedowns, because gameplay differences is not transformative unless it is some kind of sandbox style game where you are, like Minecraft can probably get away with it because you create so much unique content with Minecraft. But story games played through with no comments is not transformative, because you can recreate that content perfectly. And this, the argument here is, well, not everyone's run through is the same. Well, for some extremely linear games, yeah, it is. And the cutscenes are the same and everything's the same. And you have done nothing to transform this content to something else. If you know, and here's the thing with the no commentary plays, if you're saying that you're cutting out the boring parts, that helps you because you've done at least some transformation. But if it's just A to B, you know, beginning to end of game with no comments, you haven't transformed shit. And that puts you in a bad light because now you're hitting two bubbles. You're hitting bad bubble one, which is commercial entertainment or other. And now you're hitting non-transformative. For purpose, you're not looking good. So if someone issued a takedown request, you would have very little defense against it. And are you guys ready for the third bad thing in purpose? Profit generating. So every partnered streamer on Twitch, on YouTube, which is one thing I want to be, violates the purpose because they're making money. You're making money off your content. It is non-transformative. It is commercial and it is profit generating. All three of these things make you look real bad under purpose. But again, I'm going to keep saying this. This is a balancing test. This doesn't mean that the minute you touch one of these bad things, you're dead. But it means that it makes it harder for you to claim fair use. So those are the elements of purpose. So let's talk about the second letter, amount. So what's good? What's good for amount? Small quantity. What's that mean? Small quantity. Well, it means that the amount that you are taking from the copyrighted material is a small amount compared to the product as a whole. Now, again, just because you use 30 seconds of Spanish Flea in a review video that is 25 minutes long does not mean that you can claim fair use if they've issued, hey, I don't want you using that. Because they have the right, no matter what, fair use, to say, I don't want you using that. But depending on all the other elements, this would be in your favor to be like, well, I can use it. It's fair. Most people will just take it down, though, because you don't want to take it to court. So second, the portion used is not central to the entire content. That's saying that the thing you used, and I want to actually use your example there, Chris, with the juggling, is not central to the entire content. I would argue that you do not meet this, because even though the music is not central to the content, if you are at all juggling to the beat, it becomes central to the content, because the beat is there the entire video. It's not a small quantity. Which means the final is that, and the final positive is that the amount is appropriate. Another word I hate. to educational purposes. What's that mean? What it means is that you've took a Kanye West song, you're using it for education to show maybe how he's mixed, maybe it's a singing class, maybe it's not central. If the class is sing like Kanye West, that's probably a little bit too over the amount limit. But if you're like, today we're going to look at Kanye West and we're going to look at how he sings and how he raps and how he mixes, that would work. As long as it's not the whole thing. It has to be appropriate. Now, again, but what I'm saying is, like, as long as it's an appropriate amount, you can use it for education. And that also meets the purpose one, like and above. So then the next question is, what's bad content? What's a bad amount? Large portions. If small is there, the opposite is large. This applies to streamers. If you're doing a 10-hour stream and 9 hours and 59 minutes of it is a video game that you don't own a license to, which you don't, you are technically violating the amount level. So you do not have fair use under the amount. You have a disfavor. This hurts you. Secondly, this hurts you. It's bad that the copyrighted work is the heart of the content, which means your entire stream, the heart of it, it should be you, but it's not. It's Sea of Thieves, Call of Duty, Fortnite. These things that make the heart of your content that you don't own, this hurts you for fair use. Which means if Fortnite ever decide to pull all the licenses for Fortnite, you have a very difficult time to prove that Fortnite wasn't the heart of the content you were. So it's more than needed for education. This is the class about do everything Kanye West does versus one day you're going to do Kanye West. And this will depend on proportion as well. Because if it's a class on mixing, like let's say mixing music, and 9 out of 10 of the days of the class are Kanye West, that's probably more than is needed for education. You could do a day, and again, amount appropriate and more than needed is questions of fact. It is vague, stupid language, but they didn't want to set a percentage. They should have set a percentage. It should have been, no more than 50% of the content, no more than 20% of the content, no more than this, no more than that. But they didn't, because law likes to leave things vague, because the vaguer it is, lawmakers think it gives them more power. But in truth, the more you limit, the stronger your power is. But I digress. This is how amount works when you're looking at copyright. So don't go worry, guys. 2 more layers to go. We're on the N in pain, which is nature. Not the good nature, the bad nature. I mean, we'll talk about the good nature first. But nature in the sense of what is the content that you're creating? What's it doing? Fair use likes, actual content, non-fiction, news, and published works. This one's kind of, the good on this one is shorter, and that's bad. Because that means they've severely limited what you can say is good nature for DMCA and fair use. Are you ready for the bad? Because this is going to burn everyone's biscuits. It burns mine. What is bad under DMCA fair use? Creative content, including art, music, which is ironic, fiction, and you guessed it, video games. For fair use, this is bad. If you are using art, music, fiction, or video games, this is bad to DCMA. They hate, or DMCA, they hate when you use art and music because people get paid for those probably. They hate it. They don't like it. They don't like when you use it. It applies to, they don't like unpublished works, which means your work is out there, it's unpublished, or someone's got half a story up on like a blog and you're copying it. It's bad for you. They're like, hey, that's not yours. You can't do that. That's bad. And finally, consumables, which is a weird thing to be in nature, but what that means is workbooks, homework, tests, etc. This specific bad thing in fair use is designed to protect educators. And this is the kind of, because remember, some people think that like a bill and a law, it's like a piece of paper and you just keep writing. It's more like a soup where everyone just kind of throws shit into it. And imagine a soup where you could just stick your hand in and take out ingredients and put ingredients in and no one knows. That's how law works. And this one I hate because this is the worst one of all, which is why I saved it for last. It's effect. And effect is 100% business. First positive thing is the cumulative effect. Okay, here we go. No to little effect on the market or potential market for original work. So this is a favorite, and this is probably one of the things that actually helps streamers. No to little effect on the market for potential market for an original work. You do an early review of Mass Effect 4 or Diablo 4 because that's more tangible, but you have 10 subscribers. In the effect column, they're probably like, you've got no effect on Blizzard. We're invincible and we'll just buy your little channel and delete it. Let's talk about another good thing that allows you for copy. One or few copies made. So stuff with exclusivity. Stuff that there's only 10 of these in the world. There's only 4 manuscripts of this book. This is the sole and only copy of the Dead Sea Scrolls. That effect is good for fair use because getting it would create an unnecessary hardship. Anything like that would require a ridiculous amount of effort to get it. DMCA is like, all right, you can have it. No longer in print / no license available. So what's that mean? You can't get it in print anymore. There was a book. It had dissolved to frickin' dust. But thankfully someone copied it who was not the owner of the book. They copied it to into digital form. They took that digital form, they put it on the internet. You got to read it. There's no license because the guy who wrote it died 500 years ago, and the only book is gone. Various will be like, all right, it's just like one or few copies made. It's too hard to get otherwise. You can't time travel for the book, and you can't go meet the author unless you want to visit his grave, which he's not going to talk to you unless you're a spirit medium. Restricted access. This is surprisingly a good thing. This is stuff, and this is more towards research material for students. Again, with education. Education takes a huge bite into DMCA to whatever. And then finally, one-time uses. Now, this isn't very well described, but I like to think of one-time uses as pay-per-views. You buy one ticket to see one show, and that's it. So there's only one, and that's why like now you can see all the Floyd Mayweather and all the versus Logan Paul stuff on YouTube is because now they had a one-time use. You had one chance to see it. That chance is gone. With that chance being gone, it's within fair use to show other people now of the recordings. So, all right, so let's go back to bad because we started early, and like I said, this is the last element of fair use. The cumulative effect of copying would be to substitute the purchase of the original work. What does that mean? It means that you are copying something so you don't have to pay for it. That is LimeWire, Napster, stealing music. All of that stuff is the reason that you have taken this copyright is because you don't want to pay for it. But, and I'm going to put a thing on, you might be like, well, I bought the song on iTunes. Yes, but you bought a consumer license, not a commercial use license. You know, that there is a difference in price more than anything. The reason that music can be quote unquote so cheap is because you're not buying the use to use it commercially. You're buying it for personal use. Personal use is less rights, cheaper price. Another thing that might be bad for you when you're streaming: numerous copies made and distributed. Let me think. Let's use Game of Thrones. In the good effect, let's say there was only one copy of the final Game of Thrones book, and then George R.R. Martin died, God forbid. That copy of that book made widely available would not violate fair use. It would be favored by fair use. But let's say the first book, which there are 1 billion copies of, and you sit there and you copy the whole thing and you put it up on a YouTube video where you like slowly turn the pages so people can read it. There's tons of that copies out there. You have no reason to be doing that. So that looks bad when you're looking at fair use. This hurts you. This also applies to video games. Unless you have a limited copy of something that may be like stadium games for the NES, you streaming Fortnite, there's billions of copies of Fortnite and they're free. So this actually hurts you for fair use because numerous copies exist. So this hurts you if you're trying to claim, well, this is my content, I use Fortnite. It can hurt you pretty bad when trying to claim fair use. Reasonably, and I hate this, I hate the word reasonably in anything available. Licensing, we'll just do availability, licensing mechanism. So let's go back. I talked about Spanish Flea, which is the song that you've definitely heard, but you'll just never know the name of. That the guy who wrote the song, if you want a license to it, he says it's free, you just got to ask him. And he literally is like, just email me and I'll give you the license to it. Like, so cool guy, but that's readily available, which means if you use it without the licensing mechanism, you are disfavored because you could have gotten it, but you didn't. And that's, I think, one of the big, Herb Albert and the Tijuana Brass Band. Thank you. That's the one. Like, you knew you could get it, but then you didn't. And that's the problem. They want you to do diligence. Due diligence means that you put in the work and the time. You worked hard. You looked up what you needed to look up. You researched what you needed to research. And here's the one little caveat: to the best of your ability. So you did it the best you could. The best you could with limited knowledge. The best you could with limited resources. The best you could with availability of whatever. And then the final part here is, there's two more parts. There's make publicly available on web or other broad dissemination. This is the one that I think hurts streamers. Bigger streamers more than smaller ones. A bigger streamer makes what they do. They have copyrighted work. This is Grand Theft Auto, and they make it really public. Look at XQC. Thousands and thousands of people are looking at his copyrighted work. Surprisingly, this hurts smaller streamer a lot less, because if you're not, while it is publicly available, it's not as broadly disseminated. Now, they could also apply this generally. Does it end up on the web, period? Like on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Trovo. Yeah, they could apply that flat because it's broad. And then the final thing is, and again, that hurts streeters, repeated for long-term use. You keep playing Grand Theft Auto. You keep using Kanye West songs. You've done it for years and you keep doing it. It's bad. It's going to hurt you. You won't be able to claim fair use. I've said this a few times and now I'm going to finally define it. It's a balance. Fair use is a balancing test. What's that mean? We're going by a rule of thumb here. The rule of thumb, 50% positive. If you have 50% positive on your content, you pass fair use. We had a transformative commentary game. So we did a teaching walkthrough of Resident Evil 7. Well, we had comments. So we've transformed it. The argument is significantly. I would think it's significant if you're doing it in teaching form. And you've done a comment and it is for teaching. So let's say 1, 2, 3. We got 3 points here, but you're making money on it. So 1, and 2, but you don't have this because you've transformed it. So currently your score on purpose is a +1. Now, it's the heart of the content. I would skip large portion here because I feel like you should only be able to do one. I don't think if it's the heart of the content, it's in large portion. So heart of the content, Resident Evil 7, copyrighted material. Amount appropriate to educational purpose. I would argue that if you're doing a teaching run of Resident Evil 7, you need Resident Evil 7, the whole amount. So I would put that one at a net 0. Let's go to nature. It is a published work. I would argue it's a published work, even though this is supposed to apply to books. It's published. It's out there. 1. Creative content. Yep. 2. Again, 0. And finally, effect. It has little or no effect on the market. The game's already out there. In fact, I would think it would be good for the market. 1. You don't meet these. It's not research material. It's not one-time use. There are numerous copies made and distributed, but I wouldn't apply that here. And the reason I wouldn't apply this one here to Resident Evil 7 is because while yes, there are numerous copies out there, you are not distributing them. And that's the effect here. You're not selling Resident Evil 7. There's no licensing mechanism unless you're ready to shut down Capcom, but it'd be a hard thing. You could say, it's publicly available. So let's go one. Let's just say 1 and 1 here, just for effect. So you have a +1, which means you are more than 50% positive because everything else balances out except for this. You end up positive. 50% is 0. That would 0, 0, 0, 0. Like you just go right down. Your bads are good with your goods. Now, but here's the other important part. Fair use applies to the whole and the parts. This is why your stream can be okay, but the music you used is not. Fair use applies to everything about the content, not just, oh, well, I played Kanye for 30 seconds while playing 4 hours of. You as the streamer would try to argue I'm trying to apply fair use to the whole. Kanye would apply, I'm just trying to get my song not on your stream. Now, you might be like, well, how the hell does this help me? What does all this stuff do? Why did I sit here for almost 2 hours? It's because using these guidelines, you can make sure your content is on the positive side of fair use. That's why I'm doing this, because it's important for you to think about when you're creating content. Are you, and let's go right back to the top here, are you doing anything in education? Are you transforming this? I know you're not going to meet nonprofit unless you're a nonprofit, but are you doing a transformation? Are you putting comments? Do you have graphics? Do you have alerts, sound effects? Are you doing something to take this content and make it different content? That's 1. 2, are you teaching? Are you researching? Is it comment here? This is the one why you can't not have a no comment stream. A no commentary stream is essentially plagiarism of the consumer license for a game. You are not transforming it. You are doing it for a commercial and entertainment purpose, and it is profit generating, assuming that you are monetized in some way. It doesn't have to be that directly makes monetization. It could be that you have subscribers. They don't have to subscribe during that video of you playing Resident Evil 7. They have just subscribed. They have subscribed to you. You are making money. This hurts you in the purpose category. Most of us, we're going to deal with that. This is the heart of the content. Most likely, most streamers are going to lose right here. There's no way you're going to be able to prove that you use a small quantity. There's no way that you can claim it's a portion and not central. And unless you're doing it for an educational purpose, you can't claim education. The nature, you can claim published work. I wouldn't. Even though technically it's also creative content. So these will cancel each other out. So most of the time, you'll be okay on natured. Except if you're also mixing. So if you hit video games and published work, and then you try to throw in music in there, music could screw you because you don't have the right to that music. especially because at any point during the fair use, they can issue you a takedown, and then you have to prove that you're on the positive side of fair use. That's the only way to fight a takedown, is that you have to show right here that you beat the rule of thumb here, which is that you are more than 50% positive on the fair use balancing test. You have to show that at the end of the day, all you need, and I'll put the original numbers back, is the +1. You need to show that you're just over that line. Here's my final thing about DCMA. You know, we all look at DMCA as this bad entity, this thing that makes it impossible for us to stream and create content. But in truth, DMCA is the reason we can make careers out of social media, because DMCA provides the OSPs with safe harbor to create platforms. Yes, I do think that there's a lot of elements in DCMA that have DMCA. I give up on this stupid act that are positive and also negative. You know, I think, but most of the issues with the negativity are because some other corporation stuck their fingers into the legal soup here and added stuff to protect their money and their interests. But at the same time, those protect your money and your interests. Everything you create and you put up on the internet is yours. All your social media. And you know, actually, I want to bring up a cool example. Think about TikTok and think about the duets. If you think about duets and stitches where you take someone's content and you then put your own comment on it, or reaction videos, all of those are a violation of your copyright. In fact, if you ever get duetted on TikTok, you have the right to issue a takedown, because most likely they can make money off of your content and their reaction to your content, but they're going to claim fair use. They're going to, well, I transformed your content because with my comment, your content is different content. But you can turn around and argue, well, it's the heart of your content. And that's what I mean. It's a balance. Does them putting up that content hurt you in a way that your hurt is higher? Or I guess the other way around, because heavier. Your hurt is heavier than their content. And just to put on like just a quick, like, let's go real quick down the list. What's safe? What's not? Streams. For now, safe. YouTube, Let's Plays, safe, because they are transformed and usually come with commentary. I'd probably put them at the safest. YouTube, no comments. Danger zone. This is a dangerous thing. I expect in a few years that if video games get wised up, and they might, the creators, they're going to take down all of these no commentary run-throughs, because your content of just playing a game with no transformative elements is in a huge problem. And so I imagine guys like who I like I said, the Survival Horror Network, are in danger of eventually losing everything they've created to copyright, because what they've created is nothing different and nothing new. Let's do other people's music. Danger Zone, as many of you know, remixes of other people's music. For now, safe, depending on your mixing, which is basically just saying, depending on how you remix it, depending on how much you remix it, it will be safe. But just as a note, what's his name? PewDiePie or whatever his name is. He had like a recorder and he played like a horrible version of My Heart Will Go On, and he actually got copyright claimed on it. I don't know how they did it, because honestly, you could not tell that's what it was, but he still got hit with it. So your original music, safe, but protect yourself, because now on YouTube, if you release your music on YouTube, there's a little new checkbox that says that people may sample your work, and you give consent to it. You don't have to click that checkbox, and it depends on you. If you want your music to get out there so someone can use it in a TikTok and then maybe you are discovered, you could do that. But you're not going to get any royalties for every, let's say that song really does really well, but no one actually looks you up. They just like the song and they just keep making TikTok after TikTok, and they're making thousands of dollars. You get no royalties because you gave that away when you check that box. You can uncheck that box at any time, I think, but I don't make music, so I can't tell you. Reviews of anything, safe, because that is covered under DCMA as criticism and comments. And the main heart of the content, even though it might be about, let's say, the new Star Wars movies, the main content is your review. So these are safe. Movies. Are you an idiot? If you put a movie, and I saw this with the pay-per-view fight on YouTube. I see a lot of people do this where they'll like reverse the image or make the image upside down and put it on YouTube. If you do this, you're dumb. You're gonna get caught. Your account's gonna be deleted. Like I saw one guy, he was playing Fortnite, but in the top left corner, real small, he had the Floyd Mayweather Logan Paul fight. Like, yeah, and I'll actually add that. /TV TV shows. Don't do this. This is just it's stupid. You're gonna get caught, you know. And all right, I actually want to split that up a little more. Let's do whole movies and TV shows versus TV clips. Honestly, for TV clips, I've got no idea. I want to argue it, but I don't feel adequate. Like I'm adequately prepared to argue that. My argument is that Danger Zone. These are not your content. It's not your music. It's not your score. It's not your thing. You have no license to it. You're going to get screwed. But I actually don't know. I mean, hell, even my name, Lorax, could eventually be challenged. So other people's content. This is what we talked about with TikTok. Maybe. It's in the air. It's too new. It's too new to really know how it's going to turn out. Like I don't know. With duets. Definitely, like, if you're like taking vines and you're making like Vine compilations, the argument there that people who make compilations are transformative, I completely disagree with. I think that if you're doing compilations of any kind, even if you credit, and this is more, even if you credit the person, it doesn't matter. Because, you know, that's like stealing someone's car and going, thanks for your car. Like, you're still without your car. They're still driving your car around. It doesn't matter. Whether you give them credit or not, you know, it doesn't matter. But I haven't seen takedown requests unless they are like, you just literally like took this stream and put it on your channel. Like my whole stream, totally non-transformative. Like that I can see definitely a Danger Zone move. But other people's content, it depends. I think, yeah, better than maybe. Let's go with the lawyer answer. It depends. Depends on how much. It depends on all the factors in fair use. Reaction videos. I only got like one more after this, so it's fine. We're almost done. Reaction videos. I think these are transformative. I think they're safe. Depending on how much reaction is there. Because you just watching like slack-jawed, like watching like Avatar, like that's not a reaction video. I feel like reaction videos are really dependent on how much reaction there is. And then finally, unboxing, because I see a lot of these lately. Safe. So unboxing videos are pretty safe. They're usually a content review. You're opening up a box, you're showing, it's for comment, it's for education. In fact, I feel like most of those videos, like even if it's opening an Xbox, they label themselves as either technology or education, which is kind of cool because those are better CPMs. So I guess to finish this up, just to say, like, as scared as everyone is of DMCA, they have to kind of realize that DMCA is the reason that they can even do all this. And with that, I'm done. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. And I hope to see you guys soon. Have a good one.